believe it or not, most people get into religion, no matter if it's Christian or Muslim or whatever religion, they get into it to better their life. Things are going wrong. Maybe it's them, maybe it's the world. They trying to find out what the problem is. They trying to get some questions answered, and they don't have no deal with none of the racism that it come with, or the tribalistic complexes, or the arguments that it come with. They just want to better their life, and they probably trying to better for other people, and they just trying to figure out how to tap into their higher self and get more spiritual and things like that. Now, religion, the downside is it come with a whole bunch of, he say, she say, and how she said it. And do you interpret this way and interpret that way? And it come with a lot of nonsense that's involved. And unfortunately, we all get subjugated to that type of nonsense, because we become a part of it once we start to believe and start to choose sides and start to actually read it for ourselves and get our own interpretation of it. My conscious journey, it started when I finally read the Bible for myself. It initiated me into an ultimate conclusion. The Bible is a compilation of books relative to the same story and talking about the same God, but the story doesn't and shouldn't end there. And that's where my journey began. When you read the book, it's like, whoa, what about the other books? What about the books that they taken out? What's the information that they were trying to hide? And why they were trying to hide it? And etc.
How I knew that my third eye was open, body was still with no motion. I felt all this energy floating, was using the air that I breathe as a potion. No joking, it held and it sound like the ocean. No quotes from the hopeless, I'm focused. Weight on my shoulders, the way of the lotus so potent. Never thought I would be doing some yoga, drinking a whole lot of water. Lungs is a motor, my mind is a motor. Telling my vision, you know I'm devoted to knowledge. So I reach my quota, indulging in silence. No thoughts is provoking, enlightened. Bring a precaution to all of my motives. I feel like shit, it come from the meat in the soda. Sentence this morning till evening approaches. Remind me of Moses, when he had a meeting with hope.
Now, you see, you add meditation, right? Add meditation to the Christ story and him breaking down those barriers in your mind, finally freeing you from this world, the spiritual desires, and understanding you got to see through it, not want nothing, and receive everything. Humbling yourself, knowing who God is, introducing you to the love part of God. And the love is why he got so much discipline to us, and why he seems and come off as evil, because this is his journey to making the world the way it is today. That's why now it is the way it is today. And a lot of his name do reign supreme a lot. It's up there with a lot of other names. And just like he said, people going to be afraid to say his name in public. People going to be afraid to claim him. I'm one person who still claim Christ till this day, even through all the Egypt information, through all the information of plagiarism, through all the information I've learned, through all the archaeology. I still have not been, nobody have proved to me to hate on the person who came here, tried to be good, and died for being good in this evil ass world. When I feel like Christ, everybody feel like Christ. We feel like we sacrificed our little good for this evil. So his story is so relatable, even to the atheists. You know what I mean? People be like, yo, man, the church is robbing people. Even Jesus said the church was robbing people. Yo, man, you shouldn't be judging people. Even Jesus said, one who's sinless cast the first stone. So when you're really looking at it, I never had to deny him to learn all this conscious information and all from all these black people. So I'm still, till this day, it's like, yo, y'all still hating on Christ. Like, the Christ story is not that deep. It's just a brother who was hated on, who said he was going to be hated on, and he was hated on, and he died for it. And some people even call him God for it. Do I call him God for it? I believe he was like a key to God. Like, yo, man, that was one of my main homies I sent down there for y'all. Maybe it was him embodied in him. If it wasn't, doesn't matter. It don't pay my bills. You feel what I'm saying? The only thing it do is if it get me in the keys to get me through the doors of heaven, I don't know. You know what I mean? Am I perfect because of it? No. You feel what I'm saying? Like, so anyway. He was like the sacrifice. So I still respect the story till this day through all the information I done learned. I'm in my 30s now. I still never had to deny Christ. So I'm here to tell you, you don't got to deny Christ when you learn these stories and learn information from the past. You don't. If you want to, okay. But it's not, if you don't die, oh well. Evil people run this world anyway. You probably be rewarded for it. Let's be honest. Now time for some complete honesty. After reading the Bible yourself, you realize it's one of the most evil books you ever read in your life, and you had no idea who this God really was. It called God terrible so many times in the book by its own people that ain't make no damn sense. And you haul ass to actually see what other information is out there and who got the pieces to the puzzle. Being conscious means you're consciously aware when you read these books yourself. You get a whole nother interpretation than what the hell is being taught, how it's being taught to the people. Somebody is lying and you need to find out the truth. Why they took them other books out them damn book, what the other books was about, what information, who, what, where, when, and why about it all. You need to know the real story. Who God is, what God is, and what is all of this about. Most so-called Christians or whatever, right? Bible thumpers or whatever, they're missing mental stimulation. We have a lot of questions after reading the Bible, you know, especially if you're genuinely into that spiritual information. Before this video get into the spiritual masters and teachers and stuff like that, you got to know why people even seek after these people with information. Each of these kind of prophets, damn near, they done came down, studied for useless and for no reason, and then just happened to be recorded, and this information is able to elevate other people. They're like light. It's like just like Christ said, a lot of people gonna be able to shine their light brighter than him. Like, once you learn most of these stories, it's like, well, what else is there? Because it's not supposed to stop at the Bible. I do not like your information, all the information that was left down here. The Bible was a compilation of the books that they found at that time. And the other ones, they were scared to even put in there because they had so many people who disinterpreted the Septuagint. You know what I mean? If we go all the way back to the Septuagint and think, like, I wouldn't know half of what I know if it wasn't for people to be able to point me in the right direction. The mental stimulation that you get from hearing people piss you off to push you to learn some information, because that's what it did. A lot of it was like, I was so triggered when people talked about Christ that it made me do more research. And they'd be like, and yeah, in this story, and the white man, as soon as they start that white man stuff, I'd be like, it'll trigger me to stay tuned in to the information. Negativity was helping me learn more. And these people had great information, they just was racist. They had great information, they just was biased. They had great information that puts you in the right direction and put a lot of stories together about geographically and all types of, like, when you go into they start telling you where people come from, where people, and what books to go to. And this is why nothing in this world on this internet shocks me, because people that existed way before this YouTube stuff, and I was buying their documentaries and buying their lectures and buying their DVDs, and it was more of an inside black thing. Now, all of the information that they were saying 20 years ago, doing lectures about, which is how they got popping and popular and still popular to this day, is now on the internet, and they still ain't catch up to the brothers who was doing it in the past. They still ain't catch up. They still ain't. You know, so yeah, the Sebi era, you know, Sebi had a lot of issues. I mean, that wasn't always good. So I know about I studied the positive and the negative of everything. I'm a Pisces. I swim in the waters. You know what I mean? I make sure. No, I go straight, but I swim in every water, like to the deep end. I know everything about that whole. You know what I mean? What this lake about? What this ocean about? What this ocean of information about? What this, you know what I mean? What pond of information about? I like to explore and swim into the deep water of information. You feel me? And I like to absorb and understand and just learn from a learning point of view, from a conscious point of view, from a person who meditate and see things from man, like, you ain't gotta be a part of it, but what is it about though? And then learning why people become a part of it and how to stay the fuck out of it, stay away from it, and learn what to stay away from. I'm an information guy. I don't gotta be a part of yours to learn about it. You know what I mean? It's like working for McDonald's or something. You got to read the manual. You're the manager. You got to read everything about McDonald's. But then once you get fired, it's like, well, you feel what I'm saying? You're not McDonald's. So it's like you learning. You're walking into different. That's it.
Control is the only answer, and that's exactly what you have. People controlling you, and that's what religion is. Religio, which means to regulate, which means to control. So, brother, I would say put the book down for a minute. Put the words and terminologies down, and seek out what your ancestors meant by these terms and these phrases. Seek out what the names Abraham means. Seek out who Moshiach is. What is Aaron, Aharon. All these names were not people. They were principles. They were principles of energy, activity. They were principles of life dynamics. And once they have been recognized by you, they are given a name. And that name now becomes a principle that one wants to either incorporate in as their behavior or associate with them from your own behavior to that behavior. So when I call the wind is a principle. I would not deify the wind. I would not call the wind by a name and say that wind walked the earth with 2 legs and arms and came and told me by its breezes that this and so. Well, that's how your ancestors wrote. When the lightning struck, they gave a name to that. When the wolf howled, they gave a name to the wolf. They studied the behavior of nature, and through the behavior of nature found that nature had a multiple personality. And through that began to name each of those personalities. And those personalities were given specific duties within the scheme of natural order. And what you are reading is our ancestors would never have dreamed that you would have taken these things literally. The book of the Bible is not to be taken literally. The truths that are seated within those words were never meant to be taken literally. Jesus walking on water, raising dead people up out of there, 5,000 people from a couple of boats. That was never meant to be taken literally, and you are a fool if you do read it that way.
That's right.
You see, until you understand the deeper metaphysical principles about what it is that you're reading under religion, then you will remain a fool. You will remain a controlled fool. And that's more dangerous, because now you become a parasite on your people, and you go from protector and provider to predator.
Phil Valentine lives in the realm of metaphysical information. The information that you meditate to and have to live by and govern and are governed by certain rules that spiritual realm come with. He lives and breathes that information and is able to disseminate and decipher and give us the real of everything. Like, I was impressed by so much. I could watch 4-hour-long documentaries of him going into the Bible and into scripture and into literature and into history and just destroy anything that you thought you knew about it. Absolutely great teacher. But you gotta be on his level.
Gatekeeping to the evil, but it also says that if you figure out the riddle to the Sphinx, then the Sphinx is compelled to destroy itself. If you figure out the riddle to the gatekeeper of the evil, because see what we do here, what my role is in the Rhodes Rothschild stuff, the Rhodes Scholar stuff, the secret society stuff, is to expose the elements that have remained hidden. Which is what the boule does. You ask the boule about something, they will not tell you about who it is that's in control of all of the world, but they know.
You stop right the fuck there. This was over 20 years ago. This was over 20 years ago. This video was really made. I remember buying this DVD with Steve Coakley about 14 years ago. He just mentioned who? The boule.
Which is what the boule does. You ask the boule about something, they will not tell you.
I heard that name, boule, before years ago. The boule is a black organization, which is basically
who recently just been outed by being a part of the boule.
You know Sean Combs?
Oh, Daddy?
Yeah.
P. Diddy, whatever you call himself these days. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he's part of what's called the boule. The boule is a branch of the Illuminati.
Okay.
It's the black people. Okay. I'm from Africa, so I'm not a racist. Okay, you're my brother, so I like.
So he lying? That's what you telling me? You see what I'm saying? Pieces to the puzzle.
If Steve Coakley had a YouTube channel back in damn near 1995, it would have been over with for society as we know it. You would have had all the 2012 information, all the whole Epstein list. You would have had everything and everybody on it. He was the person who went in depth, gave the names to the names, gave the places, gave the people, the secret organizations, and broke it down from the inside out. One of the most smooth, good, information given people that you can meet and ever run into. And if you ever see information from this brother, you got to listen to it from the beginning to end, because when he start out them lectures, he ain't coming to play no games. Just like Phil Valentine, you got to listen to beginning to end and point out the best parts and mentally save that shit.
Long before the Vatican and even long before Mecca, your ancestors had the temple of Seti I, called Aptu, that the Arabs called Abydos, telling of the first holy city where pilgrimages took place right here. You had to climb up the 42 steps going into this temple. For many years, brothers and sisters have returned back with me on our Kemet New Know Thyself educational tour, back to Kemet, to see an eyewitness account of many spiritual stories that were told in books in stone. Right here at the temple of Seti I, over 3,000 years ago, in the world's first holy city called Aptu, where pilgrimages took place, where our ancestors came here to pay homage to Asar. Let's go inside of the temple to see the world's first Immaculate Conception and Resurrection story for an eyewitness account that our ancestors left us over 3,000 years ago. Now look at this. You can see where the Western world church got its design. Long before you had this, the Patah Soka shrine was already there. For those of you who are just coming in, this is the earliest architectural structure that they call Roman arches. No such thing as Roman arches. These are African arches. If you were to take a Western architecture, they say this is Roman arches, but you see this is known thousands of years ago, and this is called Patah Soka shrine. And here we see the earliest Immaculate Conception. Immaculate means clean. That means she has known no other man. No other man has entered her body. She will have a clean conception. It's the Europeans who corrupted the story, and now we are looked at as a European Madonna and child, where the concept was copied from here. Keep in mind that the only person who mentions the Immaculate Conception is Luke. Mark doesn't mention it, and then also Matthew doesn't mention it, and John doesn't mention it. Luke mentions it only in terms of being clean. It literally means only one man has entered.
This is why I say the Bible is the resource to consciousness to actually break out of the Bible. It sounds crazy, but most people who read the Bible, it sees so much BS. They see through, read between the lines, see the personifications, see the metaphors and similes, and they also see the history of where stories was also revamped or way before the Bible even came to be. And there were stories of the same similar things happening before the Bible was even there. Either the Bible was documenting those situations, or there's multiple stories of the same ish and it was rewritten, revamped, or it was recollections of different pieces of the land, recollection of what happened, and we just got times messed up. And it's multiple stories of the same situation, like Noah's flood, for instance. What I went to Ashra Kweisi for, and what I discovered when I did understand the information that he was presenting, is he went to the land, showed us the similarities of scripture and where they got the scripture from, right off of the walls. He compared the scripture, compared the, like, everything that you would think, oh, yo, they say that this is plagiarized. He went to prove it was not only on the land, but through the books themselves. You feel me? And he was the one he was a Bible thumper as well. One who went into the Bible and seen the craziness in there and came out, did research, started doing, like, finding the stories that was outside the Bible, finding out that Egypt had a lot to do with a lot of information. Like, in the Bible it talks about Egypt, but outside the Bible, Egypt had a lot to do with the Bible. Septuagint describes everything. It's crazy.
So, I mean, what is it that they have that's so, I want you to tell me. I've been in this world 58 years. And I want to know, what is it that they have that we just got to have? And I mean, pay the price that we pay for having it. Let them continue to run the world. The ugliest, stupidest, most backward people on the planet run the planet because the people to whom the planet was given has let them take the power and run it. And go along every day as though this is normal, this is natural. And go to church and call out God. God can't hear you because you ain't doing what you're supposed to do. The Creator gave you a planet, you blew it. You fumbled the ball. Now you're not doing what you were put here to do, which is run the planet in righteousness according to the principles of my act and the principles that were given to you from the foundation of the world. And you think by hollering and shouting you get God's attention?
Ishakamusa Barashango was one of the brothers who used the Bible to dissect the Bible, and I appreciated that. You see, I was the one who read the Bible and was pointing out so much, what the hell? Like, wait a minute, what? Or God told them to kill who? Like, I was the one who, and I was one who needed to find the scholars who read it and see the things that I seen. And knew how to do historical, analysis on things and give me the history behind certain things and why certain scriptures was in the Bible to begin with. I didn't even know that Jesus was in the Bible because of a specific reason that happened. I didn't even know. It's a lot of stuff that he taught that I would rather you go and seek out the truth from these people on what type of puzzle piece do they fit in the conscious community, because everyone presented something unique, different, and you can hold on to forever.
To a bad resolution on the planet. But we are breathing now titanium, aluminum, barium, non-human T cells, all kind of other things is being sprayed from ships that aren't supposed to be there because the government, the FAA, the Civil Aeronautics thing, nobody knows anything about it. But every day these ships are coming over, spraying all these major cities. So much so they've been doing it now for 6.5 years that I know of, so now you're breathing all of that. So you have metal particulation in your system, you have electrified air, which is poisonous in your system, and then whatever else of these smokestacks and the exhaust from cars are there too. Unless you can clean that out, your body's not only going to age very quickly, the cells are going to deteriorate, and you're not going to function on your heights you should be. That's why most people are running around I call them comatose, dumbed down, brainwashed, vaccinated, inoculated, and encrypted. Any two of which make you unusable to a society that's trying to develop.
Delbert Blair was ahead of his time. When you watch the stuff that he talked about over 20 years ago, you realize that the stuff that is being talked about today on Joe Rogan and everywhere all over the internet dealing with conspiracy theories, he was already on it. He was like a Dr. Sebi mixed with a Billy Carson, mixed with a whole bunch of, doctors, and he was good. Even if they called themselves doctors, they were doctors of the mind. They was helping, remedy the confusion that not only that the Bible was causing, but just like religion and just like the misinformation and the interpretation of it. They put the pieces together. Absolutely necessary and was needed in the conscious community. Go look that brother up, Delbert Blair. Right now, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to put this on my channel, but I don't care. This is the most slept on conversation you will ever hear from Shakka Ahmose. This is Ali Muhammad. He tough with the information as well. But Shakka, when you hear this, they both know the same thing on the same subject. But yo, it's over with.
Okay? That explains why. That's one of the reasons. The one thing you have to know about the Bible, and I'm holding in my hand the oldest Bible, an English translation of the oldest Bible. Forget that King James Version junk. Okay? Forget the Torah and forget the Tanakh. And the Ketuvim and all that other stuff. Forget that, the Masoretic text. This is an English translation of the oldest version of the Bible, which is the Septuagint. And like my brother here said, the source documents from which this came were in Egypt. That's where it was done.
Shakka Ahmose, the amount of research that he do, I'm surprised he's not right up there with Billy Carson and them. This is the problem with brothers who don't know how to just get their production right so they can just build their channel and build on the information they already know, because the amount of information he got, he can more than write a book, more than start his own channel. He got his own channel, but apparently people like this, I just know if their editing was right or if they videos was right, they'll be able to get their point across, get their information across on all levels. He'd be able to go forever with information, man. Like, that's what I don't like. Like, please, like, if you are a person who you know how to use content, learn how to get your point across, learn how to present information, because you won't know, you can wake up so many people. Very intellectual brother, despite what people say about him. Anyway, moving on. Now, when you see this brother here, kiss the game goodbye. Kiss your little argument goodbye. Kiss your little viewpoint goodbye. It's over with. It ain't a scholar in the world that's gonna unscholar Collie. But he's racist. That's the only thing that messed him up. Other than that, on point.
Killed 6 people on a commuter train.
I love Colin Ferguson just as much as the masses of white Americans love General Schwarzkopf, General Westmoreland, General Patton, General MacArthur, and Eisenhower. America awards her killers, and they get ribbons and stripes and bars. I'm sensitive to the pain and suffering of the loss of life on that train, but I'm one of the rebellious slaves. And so when black people stand up out of pain and suffering and frustration, I understand after 500 years.
When you feel good about being black after watching somebody speak for your race righteously, knowing what to say, how to say it, letting you know your actual power with just belief in yourself and in the nation of your people. Man, when I tell you motivation, like scholarship, like dedication to the just the information and the uplifting of, when you say your people, you think of this brother. When you say your people, when you say black people, when you say smart black people, when you say, like, he might have had during their time, they felt the need that they had to be racist. I'm sorry, but other than that, they had to, and it was necessary, and it was on point when they was speaking, boy. Brother Polight was one of the biggest industry plants in the conscious community you ever seen in your entire life. If you was there in Brother Polight's inception, before sin conquered the man, and he went off and did some sinful shit, got caught up, and then got punished for it as God's will, however that went, the knowledge, because so many people do wrong, but that don't mean that what they said was wrong during the time that they were alive. This brother conversation skills, the articulation, the way he flipped the script, worded things. He was a conversationalist. You know, you would think he had 30 conversations about the same thing before he appeared on screen. The most on point brother I ever seen in my life. The most understanding during a conversation. He reminds me of how I am when I'm arguing with somebody or I'm trying to understand the truth of the matter, of anything. I just want to know, is it logical? Is it comprehensive? And etc. When you see this, you'll understand why he took over the conscious world. Words are powerful. The way he attacked the subject, the way he questions, like, you will hear why he became where he became. Because he started off, I remember he was broke. He was on Side Netter TV. You know, he had like one wife. It was and then he became a mess. You feel what I'm saying? He had a couple wives, you know what I mean? Or they was prostitutes. We don't know what was going on back then, but it was a mess, allegedly. But it was a mess.
Bro.
We would have to believe conversations about people that we don't even believe exist in the first place. So I don't know how that.
Bro, then you don't believe nothing that you believe.
I don't have a problem with believing. Yo, listen.
All right, let him talk.
I told you in the beginning. I told him in the beginning. I don't have a problem with his belief system, but when he starts trying to make his belief system real in my life, I'm asking him to come with more concrete evidence than conversations about people who I don't even know existed and the speculations that they had about someone that existed. All of that is conjuring and conjecture and belief. I'm telling you, if you want to suggest to me that this is real, rather than get frustrated with me, I'm saying give me something concrete or understand you. I would just simply have to believe that. And that's okay if you want to believe. But when you're talking to younger people, they especially are not trying to hear all of this stuff until you give them proof. So he said Jesus is the most talked about person in the world. Most written about. That's inaccurate.
From that time
that's inaccurate.
To this time. It's perfect.
And that's inaccurate. I'm going to tell you what's the most written about. What's the most written about in the world? Ancient Egypt. There's more books on ancient Egypt ever written.
I said anything was the most written of person. Single and
I'm going to prove my point.
The most.
Could you let me finish, brother? Can you let me finish? Now, if it stands to...
Now stop. You hear the conversation? You hear how it sparks your interest? You hear how you could understand where you're coming from even if you disagree? That's what this knowledge did. That's what these debates did. That's what these back and forths did. It helped you find the people who support, like you kind of like, oh, okay, I understand where you're coming from. I feel the same way, even if I'm a part of what he's bashing or whatever. It's like I'm trying to understand the minds of the people who so-called spiritual or enlightened or conscious. And then you see this brother right here. He a Hebrew Israelite, I believe. And as he gets his information out, you find out that my man is intelligent. You find out that he knows his scripture. He knows his ish. You thinking that he's just a regular brother. Oh, man, he don't know too much. And you just start and they just stop people like this all the time. And they wind up dropping loads of information. I don't even care who wins the debate. It's a conversation. And it's kind of like, who can trigger you the most to do your own damn research?
The reason that Egypt is the most written about amongst all other subject matters, then what does Egypt talk about? Then Egypt is going to take you to Huos, which is what they call God in the Greek, which is Horus, right? Which would be their Christ, which in Egypt they call Christ Karas. You feel me? So this whole concept that they're talking about, they have to understand come from Egypt, and the people that want to suppress the Egyptian doctrine have worked very long and very hard to create new doctrines to circumvent and undermine that which the ancestors already have on the walls. You understand what I'm saying? Now what I'm saying is, if the Bible's so authenticated, how come no one snapshots, took pictures, and did all these cravings and carvings? How you gonna get mad at us for embracing ancient Egypt when they left documentation for the people? Because they knew their children need to know that it's real, because they know the black mind. Hold on.
This is why I be like, you gotta separate the knowledge from the person and his actions and the weird shit. You feel what I'm saying? I was able to separate the knowledge and see where and be like, oh, okay. And be able to understand and you feel me? It's not just some egotistical thing where I'm trying to run with my opinion and my opinion is the only opinion that matter. No, I need to hear where the people who is a little contradictory to what you what you normally hear or believe or whatever. It's different. These conversations sparked mad wisdom.
Hold on. A sane black mind says, I want to see this thing to be proven fact. The ancient Egyptians know how black people think. So they said, yo, we're going to leave the records here so you can see, because I know my children do not just merely believe. I know my children as God. Now, number one thing that makes you God, the number one thing that punctuates your divinity is your ability to question. From your ability to question, you're able to discern and you're able to definitively conclude as to what's right or what's wrong. Now, the God of the Bible didn't feel it suffice to take pictures, didn't feel it suffice to build these edifices and leave documentation. We have to take publications manufactured by men with different versions and different translations. This is what we left with, King James versions of the Bible. We have to be left with this. But in ancient Egypt, it's right there.
It's right there. So I'm saying those people had a foresight that they didn't want to be a belief system. They didn't want to be speculated upon. And guess what? Hold on, one more thing. They found the tomb of Osiris. And they found the man that the people revered as God. Now,
I appreciated what God sent him down here to do for that time period when he debated people. His debates answered so many questions that I had. He would start the question and know the answer already. Like, he was very smart with the way he handled conversation. He fell horrible, but I appreciated the up-to-date information. He added, yo, man, that ain't gonna add nothing to my pockets knowing that, but I know it and overknow it. And I appreciated the fact that he didn't just talk down on information. He knew it, engaged in it, and helped other people understand, even if he was wrong or right. It was the fact that we got questions answered that we didn't even know we had with this brother was around on Sinetter, on the streets, just dropping knowledge, no adding, no scamming, because he turned out to be a scammer. Yeah, I know, y'all. I know, but I'm trying to get some information on just why I watched them during that time, what they brung to the conscious table, and, you know, it's like that.
So now that you know that all this shit is allegory, how does it fit for you? Is Christ an allegory per se? Right, Christ is. But the science of Christ itself, which comes from the ancient Kemetic system of Keres, isn't. Because Keres is the mummified body of Osiris, which is talking about the pineal gland. And embedded inside the pineal gland is the divine soul of Ra, who you refer to as Osar. So Osar lays half asleep inside of the pineal gland, wrapped in swaddling clothing, hence wrapped in the flesh.
When I needed somebody who wasn't racist and who wasn't against the Bible and understood the metaphors and personifications and understood it on a more intellectual level that wasn't race-based, and how he presented the information where he'd go into the Bible and be like, look, all of the scriptures that talking about Christ consciousness and being conscious and not calling himself God and all this stuff about, you know, Christ being, you know, talking about your inner self being heaven and heaven being inside you in the state of mind. All of that stuff he knew. He didn't come up here like, yo, we supposed to hate white people. He didn't do that. He was actually like, yo, loving yourself, love actually matters. Like the emotion, like manipulating it, using it for your content, it actually matters. Like the chakras and all of that stuff, that's what you go to him for. Meditation and stuff like that. I needed this brother around. He introduced chemtrails. He introduced a lot of stuff about the air, a lot of stuff about how the body works, a lot of stuff. Very intellectual brother who still got a YouTube channel.
up into the third dynasty, they was just in single-story mastodon. And then you seen the kings after Imhotep, they was trying to bring it to the point they was fucking up too. Cause Sennacherib built a pyramid, it's called the bent pyramid. And if he would have completed it, it would have been larger than the one at Giza. It would have been damn near twice the size of Khufu. That's how big, but something went wrong. And so they had to cut it short, the angles, instead of it coming to that point, they had to kind of, bring it in so it looked bent. You see what I'm saying? How long ago was that? Sennacherib was around like 20.
One thing about this brother right here, right, is this is when I first was introduced to, number one, either a person playing a character that was undefeated, playing like he was one of the regular, passerbys, but ended up being one of the most intelligent people in the room. I was introduced to characters. Then I was also introduced to maybe this information drive us a little, slightly on edge. Because when you watch this brother actually debate and give information and stuff like that, you be like, he seems like he might be a little crazy, not gonna lie. But once he start to give the information, you're like, wait, let me research that. Get the fuck out of here. He ended up on point, more on point than everybody around. Cool brother. Sara, sutin, seti. He also got some crazy clips online of him getting checked by the white people, and he also one of the racist ones of us, so that ruined and tainted the information. But he's still doing this thing on YouTube as well.
So you mortgage your morality. You mortgage your morality just to get a check.
Oh, that's bad.
Our babies is worth more than that. That's why I came down to this youth march, this million youth march.
What this brother brought to the table was entertainment. You could watch Sara, sutin, seti, not know if he joking or not because he was so smart. Every time he would wind up saying something about something, you would think that he was, joking about it, and then he'd say something about the Bible that you never even thought about. You never even knew. And, you never even thought about it that way. Like, he's one of those people who was an atheist with a cause or for a reason, or he was one of those people who could go into the book and be like, listen, man, first of all, I know this, yeah. But however, nigga, niggas getting shot every day, bitch. You feel me? It was like, yo. And the way he presented the information was like, hold on. He'd start out like a drunk, like somebody who drunk, and then turn around and recite a whole damn paragraph and know every law and know know the dates that it happened and you sitting there like, wait a minute, nigga, no, hold up. You joking or trolling or you conscious trolling. Very intellectual brother.
I told him that Jesus Christ came into existence by a vote of 318 Roman Catholic bishops and by order of an edict of Emperor Constantine in the year 325 AD at the Nicene Council. I said, brother, that is a fact. History tells you what I just told you, and you can go check out anything that I just said. He said, so what you saying?
Ray Hagins, aka Poetic Flacco. This is the best person when I found a person who could go into the Bible and break things down and go into the scriptures and know what he's talking about and know where the scripture came from and go into the ancient proverbs and be like, this ancient proverb and this scripture is the same scripture and this proverb came thousands and thousands and thousands of years before this proverb even happened, and go into and made you feel proud of being black, proud of being smart, and he was a preacher of the information. We don't have no ancient Egypt preachers or people who could go into the book and do what the preacher do and do what they do and know how to present the information and feel good about it and preach it like the preachers do in the church. We needed more of those back in the day. These Ray Hagins. We needed some Ray Hagins back in the day. And nobody really did it as well as this brother here. Smart brother. You see, when I was younger, I used to go into the gallery in Philadelphia, right? When I became conscious, I was about 18, 17, 18. When I finally got out of the Bible and said, I need to learn what's going on outside of this book. I thought that it was, I thought that I was the only person like this. I used to go into the gallery and I used to walk downstairs and I used to go to this African bookstore. Never knew that these bookstores existed, where it's not a regular library. It's a knowledge place full of information, and it was about it was by black people. You know what I mean? I've never been more happy in my life to walk into a bookstore with knowledgeable DVDs, knowledgeable books, and I didn't know my people had anything to do with this type of knowledge. All I knew was rappers. Oh, the mythical journey from Jesus to Christ. Number one, I was into Christ and I wasn't denying him for nobody. I don't care what you say, still till this day, like 15 years later, still haven't. You feel me? Never had to. You know what I mean? The Christ story is mad simple. Like, a lot of people, they need to get over it. But Wata Ashby. Years, like 16 years old. I done wrote in this book, wrote information in this book. It's so much in this book, comparisons. Just like, let me give you something from this book to help you understand the type. Because look, it did stuff like not comparing, contrast, but it actually had so much valuable information during that time. The different Bibles that was created, you know, why, you know, what was taken out, what was the ancient proverbs, and what was the scriptures that they was. And there's so much in this book that just like, man, talk about the agitated personality, talk about, you know, things that Christ said and what it really mean, and like things like that. Very good book, y'all. I don't even want to go into it because it's going to be really, it's going to be a long video if I do. But see, something bad happened, right? The store closed down. It closed down. And then I found Black and Nobel. It was the second knowledgeable store in Philadelphia that was also shipping books to prisons and had the DVDs. They had more DVDs there, more books there, and the cool brothers that was like, I mean, had the lectures and stuff that they let go on there and things of that nature. So it ended up being a bad, good, bad thing. Cause that store, I missed that store. Like that store was so cozy, it was mad chill. But you know, just like, you know, we not really into knowledge like that as a people. Now you see the third or second or fourth generation me disseminating the information in a 2025-ish way, where you gotta add comedy, you gotta add the point of view, you gotta be able to present it in a funny, unique, different way, and you gotta have propaganda and like different techniques to use in order to put this information inside your content to be able to teach people, make people laugh, make people think, and help people know, yo, this type of information is still out there. It's just revamped in a new way. So yes, it might make people laugh, but it also helped wake people up. And it's like, it's different. And then in 2055, it's going to be presented in a new way. And then in 2060, because YouTube wasn't out back then. But imagine if the lectures and all of that stuff we was able to do back then. Then you'll understand how this information will really is all this information is just revamped old consciousness information on the internet today, and they still ain't catch up. Anyway, subscribe to the channel if you're new, hit the like button, and peace.
God, that's right, Pastor. Talk to him. It's good. Okay, you understand me? I said, that's right. According to chapter verse 16, verse 7. God, talk to him. Ladies and gentlemen. Wait a minute, though. Is good.
He also terrible.
Excuse me, what you say there, boy?
Does that make news? No, if you read it, he say he's terrible too. What happened? Why you don't ever explain that?
Oh shit, this nigga really read the Bible. See, all through the Old Testament, they said he was terrible too because he was super powerful. He didn't just cause blessings, he caused destruction as well. Like he destroyed your hairline. Security! Get out of me!